What up? It's 92.9 WDUP. New London's home of timeless hip hop and R&B. Sorry we had to cut off sports, drinks, and entertainment, but we got a special guest checking back in. We have Maisy K, singer. She was just on tour. I don't know if you're currently still on tour, but you was out there in the UK with Tori Kelly. We got you back. We had you on a couple months ago when I was over here with the flu, and I'm glad to get a do-over. So, Macy, how are you?
I'm good. Yeah, thank you. I just got back from the Europe run about a week and a half ago, so very fresh. I'm still feeling jet lagged,
Yeah.
definitely, but it was an unbelievable experience.
Hey, you being from England, how does it feel to be on a tour with Tori Kelly in the UK?
Oh, it was so lovely, especially because I originally wasn't supposed to be doing the Europe dates. It was something that I got offered midway through the tour, which was really amazing. That was my first time performing in my home country. My whole family came out to see me specially, and it was just so sentimental and wonderful that after all these years, they finally got to see me perform.
Now that's amazing. That's amazing. What changed? Like originally you didn't think it was going to happen. What changed?
Well, just originally I hadn't been offered it, and then midway through the tour, I just ended up finding out that it was on the table. And I said to my team, well, if it's on the table, we should absolutely do it. I would love to do it. So
Yeah.
it just worked out that way. It was very, very cool. I'm very glad they liked me enough to want to extend my journey with them.
Nah, that's amazing. Talk about the tour itself. Talk about some of your favorite locations that you actually performed at.
Yeah, so I think Manila was definitely a highlight for me. Manila, the crowd was like unlike anything I'd ever seen. The energy was unreal. They just went so hard in Manila. I felt like a pop star, truly. It was very cool. And then I also really loved Seattle. I met up with my author friend and she showed me around the city. So Seattle has a really special place in my heart because I had such a great time there. And then for the second year in a row, Atlanta was the best crowd in the US. 2 years running,
Wow.
Atlanta has been the best show in terms of like how good the audience is and what their energy is like. Atlanta wins 2 years straight for the US.
There you go. I used to live in Atlanta. They show love out there. So that's dope. That's dope. So, being on tour with Tori Kelly, did you guys actually get on stage together at some point? You collaborate at all?
We didn't, it was such a
Right.
hectic process and
Mm.
we were running all over the place, barely sleeping. We didn't know,
Yeah.
well, at least I didn't know what time we were performing until the day we would roll into the new
Mm.
state. So I think we would just end up missing each other quite a lot because when she was doing her sound check, I'd be warming up. And then when I would go when I would have a break, she'd be getting ready to go on stage. So, but she came and she said goodbye to me on my last show. She got me a
Mm.
bouquet of flowers. She's such a lovely human. She
Yeah.
treated me she welcomed me with open arms. She's a lovely, lovely human.
Hey, I mean, you didn't expect to go on a UK tour, Like, does she have another tour coming up? And like, are you keeping your dates open in case they ask you to come back for a third time?
Oh, well, I would absolutely love to come back again. I don't know her plans. I believe she went and opened for, wait, not maybe not opened, but did a performance with Jacob Collier on his tour. So that's
Mm.
really impressive.
Yeah.
I don't know what her plans are for the future, but I know they'll be bright and shining just like her.
Yeah, we over here with Macy K. Talk about your pre-show routine. Like, do you actually go on tour? That seems nerve-wracking. Like, do you still get butterflies before you go on stage?
I think it depends on the show.
Mm.
On a longer tour, you do sort of fall into a routine with you and your team where it feels more like uh yeah, like a routine and a structure rather than a big daunting task.
Yeah.
But I was very nervous about the London show because that was the first time my family was going to be there, and that felt like a big moment. So
Yeah.
even though I'd done it so many times, I got really nervous for that. And I'll get nervous if I haven't done the set in a while, that if we take a big of a break and then we come back to it, that can be really hard. So there are definitely moments, but you
Yeah.
do sort of fall into a routine
Yeah. Yeah.
just
So
because you
that.
do it so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Repetition. So being back in the States, do you have like aside from a tour, just like regular shows? Like, what do you got going on now? Moving forward.
Yeah, so I have finished writing my debut album, and that is where we're going to move for the next year. We're going to move with my first ever debut album release
Mm.
and my first ever headlining tour. That's about all I can say. And we're still very early in the work, so there's no like concrete plans as of yet, but I
Mm.
know those are our priorities for the new year. We think it's time for me to go on my own tour, which would be really cool because that would mean I'd get to have a band, and I would love to get to have a band and just have my own show. And I think that would be a really incredible accomplishment. And I hope we get to do that next year.
Yeah, so you in album mode right now. Like, how many songs you got completed?
I believe there's 13 on the standard version of
Mhm.
the album, and then we have some bonus tracks.
Okay. Any idea when you're gonna release it? You gonna drop any singles from it or anything?
I do have very specific ideas. I don't want to say what they are. I kind of just want to surprise everyone and drop when I'm ready. But let's just say I've planned this out very thoroughly. There's lots of Easter eggs. There's lots of things that
Hmm.
months later people will be able to look back at and be like, oh my God, she was hinting at this here.
Hmm.
So I've put a lot of thought and care into this album release.
This album, how's it gonna differ from the Wonderlust EPs that you dropped recently?
So I think that the difference between my EPs and my albums are that the EPs are a great representation of me musically. What I like about this album is it is a piece of work detailing grief and loss and acceptance, but simultaneously, it's also a political statement. It's a very personal statement. It's making a very public statement, which is different, I think, than any of my other works in the past.
Yeah. So, going back to the UK tour, besides the family and everything like that, like, what was like some of your most memorable moments being over there, touring the UK, touring Europe?
Well, unfortunately, we all got quite sick, so I
Oh
spent
wow.
a lot of it in the bunks feeling a bit sorry for myself. But I will say we did get to go to the Eiffel Tower. We climbed it at night. We saw the light show, and that was really cool being up there with my friends and just
Mhm.
getting to say we did that. That
Yeah,
was that was really cool.
yeah. So the fan feedback back there, like what record do they respond to the most? Like, to get hyped up and, cheer the most when you perform a certain record.
People always love the end of Love is a God because I do some very high operatic vocals. And
Mhm.
normally, if the crowd is a bit uninterested, that's the moment where I can sort of reel them in because it's like, oh, she can sing.
Yeah.
And then I think everyone loves Technicolor Honeymoon. I think that's a crowd pleaser. And it's the final show of the set. I ask
Mhm.
everyone to come dance with me. It's just a bit of fun. I think it puts everyone in a good mood. So I think those two always go over really well.
So yeah, we got those two records here. We're gonna air it right after this interview. Great records. Kind of explain your sound, ethereal pop and so on. Like, for those who haven't been to a Macy K show, what can they expect?
Yeah, so I've been describing myself as a your local fairy princess, whimsical, ethereal pop artist,
Mhm.
and professional storyteller. So there's a lot of heavy imagery in my shows. I've done a lot of butterflies, a lot of wings. I incorporate a lot of fantasy, a lot of my love for fiction and video games and reading into my work. It's very much like a show, like a
Yeah.
play. It's very in depth and it's very personalized.
Mhm.
And yeah, I'm very excited because I'm a creative person and I really want to see how far I can push the extents of my own imagination for this project.
Yeah, like any crazy fan stories try to rush the stage, backstage, being on tour. Have you had any crazy fan encounters?
In Asia, I had people meeting me at the airport. They somehow knew what flight I was on. I had
Mhm.
people meeting me at the hotel. I had people when I got out of the car, I get swarmed. I had to have security. I've never had security before. And
Oh,
that
you
was
big time
very
now.
Yeah, that was so
Yeah,
crazy. I was like, what for me? For little old
yeah,
me? That's nuts. So it was really interesting just seeing how it differs in Asia to North America to Europe. I feel like just in general,
Mhm.
the scenes are quite different and fans in general tend to act differently
Yeah.
depending on where you are.
Those Asian fans, they go crazy for who they rock with. So yeah, that's
Manila,
amazing.
yeah,
Yeah,
Manila went nuts. I
yeah.
shout out to Manila. I felt very loved in Manila. The
So
Philippines. Come
yeah.
on, Philippines.
So you describe your sound, but you also work with, like, hip hop producers such as like Timberland and Dark Child. Talk about some of your hip hop influences and everything like that.
Yeah, so I think, I was so fortunate to get the opportunity to work with Timberland a few years ago. He
Mhm.
really liked one of the songs I wrote that actually will be coming out on one of the closer projects that I'll be releasing. I forget if it's this one or the one after, but on one
Mhm.
of them, it will be coming out. And he just really loved the song and saw potential in it and wanted to do some sessions with me based off of that. And I worked with his team, and it was a really lovely experience. And I think, working with any industry professional, it's easy to feel intimidated or like it's a bit daunting.
Mhm.
But what's really nice is, at least in my experience, everyone I've worked with has been really lovely and humble and wants it to just be a collaborative experience, wants you to tell them if you don't like something, wants you to speak up about how you want it to sound. Like it's very much fun for them to have you hear and input your own feelings too and have it be a collaborative effort. And that's what's really lovely about writing music, is it is like very much like a collaborative journey of the people in the room writing it.
Mhm.
So yeah, there's just that through line of community almost in any room that I go in.
Yeah, with all that said, how important is like crossover appeal to you? Being able to, get into, your own bag and get into the hip hop bag. How important that is to you having crossover appeal.
I would say I don't intentionally think about it. For me,
Mhm.
when I write music, I just write about my feelings.
Mhm.
And it depends on what sort of feelings I'm having on what that song ends up sounding like.
Mhm.
Um, Sorry, my building is calling me right now.
Oh, okay.
But sorry, I think they want me to let
I
some
know.
people in, but I want to finish this interview with you.
Yeah.
But I think it's more so about just what I'm feeling. If I'm feeling the intensity of a new, exciting chemistry or romance, then it might naturally lead a little darker, a little grungier, a little more
Yeah.
intense, because that's what I'm feeling. Whereas if I'm deeply in love, it's more a dreamy
Mhm.
ballad sort of, wanderlust
Mhm.
vibe. So it really just, I don't think about the genres as much as I think about feelings and what I'm going through in my experiences, and then the sound tends to follow.
Okay. So yeah, I know you got to get going. Just let everybody know how to get in touch with you. Talk about, shop at Macy K and that, kind of just get everybody, just a rundown on how to stand to everything Macy K.
Yes, so you can find me on literally everything at Maisy K. That's Maisykay. I direct and creative direct my own music videos. I design my own merch. Everything is very much personalized to me, and I hope you check me out.
Yeah, there we have it. It's 929 WDUP, Macy K. We're gonna get into a record, Love is a God. And make sure you follow her and stay tuned. And it's been a pleasure having you back on here. The door's always open. So, please stay tuned with it.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
All right.